Hi guys, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Just so you know, I had to take some migraine meds, so if I seem a little more loopy than normal, that's probably why. Every time I kind of dig into this case, I end up with a migraine. Yesterday was a big day. It was overwhelming, not necessarily in a bad way. Some ways it was good. Mentally and emotionally exhausting, and it was insanely hot yesterday, which also was kind of wearing me out. But I went to Henryetta. I had been talking with the families, messaging back and forth, and they were kind enough to say that, you know, I was more than welcome to come by, and so I did. If you saw on my community tab, I got bouquets of flowers and stuffed animals and rose bushes for the families, and the cards that went along with them. It wasn't just from me, it was from all of us here at this Country Girl's Life, the whole community, because I want these families to know that we're with them. You know, we're going to fight this fight with them. We're not going to go away. We're not going to forget what happened. We're not going to forget these innocent victims. And we're not going to let the lazy, sloppy initial investigation slide. We're not. We're going to do everything we can to help them. And you guys are going to be a big part of that, helping to get the word out there. Giving these videos thumbs up to boost them in the algorithm so they're pushed out to more people that need to see them. And people need to see these because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that's frustrating for the families. And I know that, you know, big, awful, sensationalized headlines, you know, it's juicy. That's what everybody wants, right? But in a case this disturbing, it's already bad enough. The truth is bad enough. And when people are out there putting out misinformation, and then other creators jump on that and they continue to push it out, it's just almost, it's re-victimizing these families. They are going through enough without having to fight this misinformation battle. So some of the things that are out there, I'm going to clear up for you today. And I want you to know that when you come to my channel, everything that I put on here is going to be pushed through the families first for verification. So I know what I'm bringing you is correct, or at least correct to the knowledge of the families. I'm not going to jump on every sensational headline about this case. I'm going to give you the facts as best as I know them, coming straight from the source, which is the families. So, getting that out of the way. Like I said, liking this video helps get the message out there to as many people as possible. Sharing it on your social media will help. And we want to use the hashtag #BeLikeIvy. And I will have that in the description, and I will explain that a little more later in this video. You can, hashtag Henryetta, anything, the victims' names, anything that if somebody were searching for information, what they might put in to search, what their search term might be, put that as a hashtag and have them come watch these videos with the truth from the victims' perspectives and from what they are being told by the OSBI investigators. I would appreciate that, and I know the families would as well. I try very hard not to deal in rumor on this channel, and being a true crime channel, yeah, we speculate to an extent, but in this case, we need to try to avoid that at all costs, just keeping in mind these victims and their families. So, okay, so yesterday, like I said, I made my trip to Henryetta, and I took my daughter with me. My husband is once again out of town, and I took my daughter with me, and first we stopped in town. You guys know I live in the middle of nowhere, and I drove into the closest big town, not big town, but town that has anything, and went to the florist, and I got the bouquets for the girls. When I was talking with Brittany's dad, Nathan, I said, what was her favorite color and what was her favorite flower? And I, because I wanted to get something that really suited these girls. And he said that her favorite colors were pink and turquoise and that she loved roses. So I was like, okay, then that's what I'm going to bring to her. And so we went and we had them put together a beautiful bouquet of pink roses. I've got a picture here of Brittany's bouquet. And my daughter found this bear in the shop, and it was kind of a turquoise color. And he had a pink bow and then the pink heart on his foot. And then the bouquet was wrapped with a turquoise ribbon, which was really beautiful. And when I asked Ivy's mom those same questions, she said, let me make sure I get the quote right. Ivy loved anything, really. She was just a happy girl. So we got her this bright, beautiful bouquet of what we called happy flowers. The flowers that just look happy. Like these beautiful daisies and these big, beautiful sunflowers and these bright colored carnations. And it was gorgeous, and Ivy, she was just like this bright person, right? Her personality and happy. And we thought that was perfect. So she put that bouquet together for her, and my daughter picked out this puppy stuffed animal for her. And we got cards to go with each bouquet, and I wrote on them, "We're here for you, Christy, Colleen, and the This Country Girls Life family." And then we wanted to get them something permanent to remind them of their girls. So we got each family rose bushes that they can plant, and they will come back every year and produce these beautiful flowers that can remind them of their beautiful daughters. And we gave the lighter pink color to Brittany's family and the darker pink color to Ivy's family. And with those, I also included a card, and it said, "To remind you of your beautiful daughter from the This Country Girls Life family." So that was kind of just like my channel's gift, our community's gift to the families. And inside, I don't know why I didn't take a picture, but inside of each of these cards, I included a small metal pocket cross that they could carry with them. So we got all of that and headed the 20 minutes down the road to Henryetta. And of course, we're talking on the way, and we were both nervous, which for me is kind of weird. I'm usually not nervous about meeting people, but this just seemed very different. You know, we both were very aware of not wanting to upset them any further, not wanting to trigger anything, you know, just very mindful of not wanting to make matters worse by us being there. It was very important for me to not be intrusive, and that's why I did not film my conversations with the families. That's not why I was there. I do have notes about, you know, different things that we talked about that I will share with you, but it didn't feel right to me to, you know, put a camera on their face. Both families graciously said that they will sit down and talk with me at some point, you know, on camera if I want, or come on to the channel. Mainly, you know, we want to talk about the legislation, the laws, things like that, but it's not the time right now. It's just not, and I wasn't going to do that. So I'm sorry if you're disappointed, but if you are, then maybe this isn't the channel for you. When we got to Henryetta, we decided that before we went and met with the families, we wanted to go to the scene and just kind of get a feel for the area, you know, I don't know, it sounds weird, but like I so badly wanted it to, you know, look like a bad place, like look like a scary place, like, you know, just something. Knowing what evil had occurred there, part of me was just hoping that you'd pull up and just be like, oh, you know. And it wasn't really like that. It wasn't really like that. It was a very weird feeling. We went out there. When I had talked to the families on Monday night, they had told me that the OSBI had been there, but they were gone. And we're going to talk more about the OSBI being involved in a little bit. But I wanted to see if they were back, if they were out there. And they weren't. There was no law enforcement presence there. There was no crime scene tape. Nothing like that. The only people that were there was across the road was two different news stations, KFOR and KOCO. And that was it. So we pulled up, and this is like by where I parked on the side of the road, looking towards the house where McFadden lived. And you can see, I mean, there's nothing really special, nothing that really stands out. It was kind of grown up. Now, my property is kind of grown up as well, but that's because they haven't come to bale the hay yet. So maybe it's the same for this property, but outside of that, you know, it wasn't that different from, you know, any other house that you would drive by going down the road necessarily. There was a gate. You can see the fence there. There's a gate that kind of leads you in, and then there's another gate around the house. And I did not venture through even the first gate. There was a sign on the ground that said no trespassing. It was on the ground, not like up where you could see it, but it was on the ground. And knowing that the OSBI investigation is ongoing, They were not there right now. I don't know if they're still classifying this as an active crime scene because, like I said, there was no tape or anything. But I don't want to compromise anything, and I definitely didn't want to get in trouble for trespassing or anything like that. So I stayed back. And my daughter and I just kind of, just stood there and took it all in and talked. And it was weird. Like I said, it was very hot yesterday. It was very hot and really humid, like more humid than it normally is here. And there was a slight breeze blowing where we were, but you can see there's a tree right near the house, and none of the leaves were moving on the tree. And we both commented, like, it's so weird. It's like everything there was just sort of frozen, like frozen in time, right? And we both just had this heavy feeling when we got out of the car, because something really awful happened there. Let's see, I've got a few more pictures. This was the mailbox. Like I said, you can see it's kind of grown up around the mailbox. And then I did a short video just kind of showing you the area, so I'm going to play that for you now. So, hey y'all, this is Christy, and we are out at the scene on Holly Road in Henryetta. I'm not gonna go all the way on the property because I don't want to be trespassing, but the news is behind me. KFOR is here, but no police. I talked to the families last night, and they said the OSBI had left yesterday, and there's no signs of them here today. But we just wanted to stop by here before we went and met with the families and dropped off our flowers and the gift from the channel. It's a really pretty area, but it feels real heavy out here. You can see the pond back there, and we're going to talk about the pond in my video. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to trespass. I don't think they got cameras out here, but I don't want to get in trouble, so thought I would just take a quick video and show you all the area. It's just right off. If you take this road, it takes you right into the town of Henryetta. And yeah, that's about it, I guess. I can't tell. I don't think the door is open. I don't know if anybody's in there. I don't see any cars except for the news, so I don't see the dumpster that the landlord threatened to throw everything in either. But alright, that's it for me for now from Henryetta. So as you can see, it's a rural area, not as rural as where I live, but you don't have houses right on top of each other. You've got acres and acres of property to yourself. It is right off of that road, and like I said, if you take that road about maybe 2 miles, it takes you right out to the business district in Henryetta. There's like fast food restaurants, Quick Trip, things like that right at the end of the road. So like I said, it's not as middle of nowhere as where I live, but it is still very rural. And I think that's one thing that people are kind of having a hard time understanding. Even Ivy's family had mentioned to me that people are like, he shot him that many times and nobody called, excuse me, called the police. It's nothing to hear gunshots out here. You know, I have 25 acres. I go out and shoot my gun often. You know, we have a shooting range set up on the property, and sometimes when my big dogs that stay out all the time don't want to come in for the night, if I shoot a gun, they come home. And my neighbors are not super, super close, but I'll hear them shooting, you know, to run off coyotes or, you know, just different things. I don't know. I have one neighbor that shoots turtles. I mean, you know, it's not a thing that if you hear gunshots out here, you're going to be like, oh my God, somebody's being killed, call the cops. That's not how it works out here. So it wouldn't be like living in a suburban neighborhood and hearing gunshots. It's completely different out here. Whole different mindset. So there was equipment on the property. Now, I had mentioned the pond in that video. Apparently there were ponds on the property. They said though that one had been built like within the past few months, and so people were wondering why, you know, why did they do this, what have you. And OSBI brought equipment out and they did some digging on the property, as well as they had divers in the ponds, and they were using side scan sonar to search the ponds. They were very thorough and they found nothing. Now, there is word out there that they found more bodies. The medical examiner was brought out, but I think that was precautionary in case they did find something. They had found a couple areas where the earth was disturbed, but apparently it was nothing. Ivy's dad showed me where he is texting with the lead investigator of the OSBI, and yeah, there was nothing. So take that for what you will. It sounds like they didn't find anything, and I saw this equipment on the property. This I don't believe is OSBI's, because they're gone. Everything they brought is gone. I'm just wondering if maybe this was used in constructing the pond or something else on the property. There was that, and then this. I don't know. Landlord is really the right word. Jesse didn't own the property. The way that Brittany's dad explained it to me was the guy that does own the property is not supposed to be renting out homes for whatever reason that you're not allowed to rent out homes. And so Jesse and the family were living there rent free and listed as caretakers of the property. So there's that. I don't know if this is, you know, equipment that the landowner was using to do work around his property. I really don't know, but I took pictures. And then this is just a picture of the house. Let me see, I've got a close-up picture there. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but there are toys in the yard. There were bikes along the side of the house. There's a basketball hoop laying down in the front right there by the fence. Very obvious to anybody that would come up that there are children there. Very obvious. Which, if a SO was being monitored, would be a tip-off to the officer coming to do like a monthly check-in or what have you. It's very obvious that children were in that home. Yeah, it's kind of messy out there. It's kind of piled up, but again, like I said, there's nothing about this house that would lead you to think the horrible things that happened there were going to happen. I guess is the best way I can explain it. I told you the news was behind us. My daughter and I didn't want to be on the news. We weren't really prepared to make an appearance on television. But I couldn't get out of there before they got me. I kept telling my daughter, let's get out of here before they think that we're like family or somebody that knows something. Well, the cameraman came across and was talking to us, and for whatever reason decided to go run and get the reporter and have her come over, and she had a mic in our face and was asking us questions, and we went along, and I ended up on the news twice yesterday. So I'll share those clips with you. You might see somebody familiar here.
Well, guys, it's been over a week since those 6 lives were tragically taken here in Henryetta. So now the community is really doing everything they can to rally together to make sure a tragedy like this doesn't happen again. A small town tragedy getting the attention of neighbors in surrounding cities and the nation. Henryetta mourning the loss of Ivy, Britney, Michael, Rylee, Tiffany, and Holly, who were all tragically murdered at the hands of a registered sex offender over a week ago. State representatives like Scott Fettgetter working on bills to keep convicted sex offenders in jail longer so we don't repeat the tragedies that happened over a week ago. There's also a petition going around with stronger language for sex offenders convicted of a crime to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. It has nearly 2,000 signatures. Christy, who lives in a town 30 minutes away, says she's been doing everything she can to spread the message and help the grieving families.
Anything we can do to just push the word out about that and try to help get change. I've written letters to the legislature, the governor, whoever I can think of, and we're just trying to bring attention to how did this happen and what happened with this investigation.
OSBI is now the lead on this investigation. They tell me it is ongoing and there is nothing else to be released at this time.
This week, mourners remembering the lives lost in last week's mass murder in Henryetta.
This is a tragedy that has had a huge impact on Oklahomans. It's been shared across the country as well. KOCO's Megan Mosley back there in Henryetta today. She joins us live. And Megan, I know you met some people out there who drove from all over the state just to see what they could do to help.
Guys, a mother I met out here today tells me that she has been just devastated to learn about this case. She tells me she's been writing lawmakers and really doing everything she can to make sure the 6 innocent lives are being remembered.
We're so close, I just couldn't stay away. When something like this happens basically in your backyard, it's concerning. I mean, how many others are out there that we don't know about?
It's been over a week since 6 lives were taken in Henryetta.
It's a lot to wrap your mind around.
A sleepover turned into a mass murder where 5 children were shot to death.
I think about her going to spend the night with a friend, and you worry about your kids meeting the wrong kids, the wrong crowd, getting involved with the wrong kids. But you really got to worry about the parents, too.
Jesse McFadden, the man behind the gun, was a registered sex offender. Among the victims, his 3 stepchildren.
You never think to ask your friend's parents, oh, is your spouse a SO? You don't think of that. Who would? It's a lot.
You never expect something like this to come out of a sleepover. Not once in my life have I ever thought something would happen like this.
After hearing the devastation, Christy has been doing what she can to spread the word and be a helping hand for the families.
We got bouquets and stuffed animals to leave at the memorial for the girls, but we're also buying rose bushes because Brittany's dad said that she loved pink and turquoise and roses. And I thought if we get them rose bushes, they can plant that, and every year they'll come back and be a reminder of their daughters.
Now, Ivy Webster had her funeral over this past weekend. Brittany Brewer's funeral will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Henryetta High School gym. That's at 10 a.m. And according to a family member, Holly and her 3 children's funerals have not yet been planned. Reporting live in Henryetta, Megan Mosley, KOCO 5 News.
Lord, if I didn't look like a beached whale. Whew, my goodness. TV cameras are not flattering. Anyway, so when we finished up there, our next stop was Brittany Brewer's house. And I messaged her dad and said, you know, are you available for us to come by and drop off the flowers and a gift for you? And he said he was. He was actually preparing to go and pick out his clothes to wear to his barely 15-year-old daughter's funeral today. Her funeral was at 10 a.m. this morning, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I pulled into the driveway, and Nathan was on the front porch. We walked to Brittany's memorial and talked, and he told me about his amazing daughter. And all of these kids were just amazing, and they have amazing family. Brittany's dad, he just, what a wonderful guy. And he's dealing with so much more than just this, which we're going to get into. But they're the kind of people that I wish I had met under different circumstances. You know, they're so wonderful. They're people that, you know, they remind me of the kind of people that I'm friends with, that under different circumstances, you know, had we met, we'd be good friends. And hopefully maybe we still can be. But right now it's not about that. But he told me about his daughter, and he showed me where she caught the school bus every day, and she rode that bus to school with the other 4 victims, and they were all best friends. You know, they were practically inseparable. Britney and Tiffany's lockers were right by each other. They were all just, you know, the best of friends. He recalled a picture he had of Britney and Tiffany from a trip they took to Great America, which Great America, if you don't know, it's a big amusement park in Oklahoma City. And he was talking about pictures that he had of them, because I asked, if you remember in my previous video, the grandparents had said that they didn't really get to see the kids. And I wondered, you know, did the kids get to go visit anybody else? And apparently they did. You know, they spent time with their friends at their houses, not just at the McFadden property. Let's see. He told me that he had woken up yesterday morning. The reason this came up was because on Monday night when I was talking to him, I had inquired, you know, are you taking care of yourself? Do y'all need anything? Because if they needed anything, I was going to bring it with me when I went yesterday. You know, I'm like, do you need food? Do you need anything that I can stop, you know, at Walmart or wherever and pick up for you? And I said, you know, are you guys taking care of yourself? And he said he was making sure his wife was taking care of herself, and he was trying to take care of everybody else, but that he hadn't really been taking that good care of himself, and that in the last 7 days he had got maybe 8 hours of sleep. And I told him, I said, you need to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of everybody else. You're not going to be any good to anybody unless you take care of yourself. And I asked him, were you able to get any rest last night? And he said yes. And he said that he had woken up with a Bible verse on his heart. And so he got up and he was reading the Bible, and he shared with me that this was the verse. It was Philippians 3:13 through 14. The one thing I do, however, is to forget what is behind me and do my best to reach what is ahead. So I run straight towards the goal in order to win the prize, which is God's call through Christ Jesus to the life above. And he said that, you know, he knew it was kind of Britney, you know, putting that on him just to remind him, you know, not to focus on what has happened and what we can't change, but to focus on the future and what we can do moving forward and the good that these parents are trying to do in the name of their children. And he said that he had just recently gotten word that he is now an ordained minister, which is something he had been working towards. And he's already been asked to go and speak at a church in Georgia, which he's going to do after dealing with even more, I don't know what a good word is, distressing events that he has going on in his life. After laying Britney to rest today, he will be heading to Dallas to visit his mom. She is at the end of a hard-fought battle with cancer, and he said that he hoped she could hang on until he got there. And so he's going there, and he's going to stay through Mother's Day with her. And he's also awaiting a double bypass. He had been taken to the hospital, and they discovered a condition with his heart. It's not clogged arteries or anything like that. It's just sort of things aren't in the right place, basically. And he was going to get a second opinion. Well, he had to change that appointment due to everything that has happened. Before last week's tragedy, he said he had been very mindful of taking care of himself, you know, watching his weight, watching what he was eating, you know, anything, you know, to avoid stress and not, you know, put any additional pressure on his heart. Well, since this happened, he's not sleeping, he's not eating well, and he said that he's got chest pain all the time. And when he had initially gone to the hospital, Britney was quite concerned about him, and I know that she would not want to see him going through what he's going through right now, which is one of the reasons that it's so important that we get the correct information out there. Like I said, what they're dealing with is bad enough without people sensationalizing things that may not have even happened. So he talked about going to the funeral home and that his daughter's face was swollen and that there was not much that they could do due to the head wound that she suffered. And he said that he saw burns on her arms and some injuries near her wrists, and he wasn't sure what the burns were. He wasn't sure if they were like cigarette burns or whatever, but he felt his daughter had been tortured. And someone later told him that the marks were actually from a taser. And that's not anything. The scene, the images of what his daughter may have been going through at the end were already bad enough, you know. And now on top of all of that and all of what they were subjected to walking into and finding because the police didn't do their job right, now there's the concern of his daughter being tortured and essayed, and that possibly being videotaped and out there somewhere on the dark web. So he said that he is grateful to see how this awful situation has brought the community together, and thankful for the outpouring of love and support. Henryetta canceled school today because that's where a Britney service was held, and then she was taken by horse-drawn carriage to her final resting place. Both Britney and Ivy's funerals were paid for by Buffalo Wild Wings out of Oklahoma City. A car dealership in Henryetta donated a family car for Britney's family today. She had a lot of family come in from out of state, and that way everybody could ride together in one vehicle instead of multiple vehicles. He also told me that, now I have not confirmed this, I've reached out to his people, and Ivy's dad had not heard this, but Britney's dad said that Troy Aikman, who is the former Dallas Cowboys quarterback and Henryetta native, that's where Troy is from, apparently he is paying for Tiffany, Rylee, and Michael's funerals. Now, like I said, I don't have absolute confirmation on that, but it would be really fantastic if it were true. One of the things I talked about with Ivy's family was the amount of celebrities from this area and how we hope they can help us get word out about pending legislation. But we're going to get into all of that in a minute. Britney's dad invited us to the funeral, to the graveside, to an upcoming tree planting in honor of the 5 kids. And he also said that he would sit down and talk more with me about laws and legislation the families are working on and things like that. Obviously, I need to give this man time to deal with everything he's got going on. You know, he lost his daughter, who she just had her birthday on the 22nd of April. So she was just barely, sorry, dog. She was just barely 15. His mom is about to pass, and then his own health situation. So please keep Britney's family and her dad, Nathan, in your prayers. It would really be appreciated and really needed. You know, let's pray for peace, comfort, love, and healing. I want to show you some pictures that I took from Britney's memorial garden. The sign that you see there that says, "We all love you, Britney, dearly loved, never forgotten, always in our hearts," and then it's signed by her friends. Ivy also has one of those. It's in their front yard. I think you saw it in one of the news clips. I didn't take a picture of it. It's like right in front of their house, and I didn't really want to show their house. You know, I hadn't asked permission to do that. Here is another picture of her garden from a little bit further away. You can see our flowers. You see the blue bear there. It's very beautiful, very, very peaceful. And you can see it looks like a little church steeple there. That is actually, I've got a closer picture of that. That was built by a friend of Nathan's. It says House of Prayer, and it says in memory of Brittany Brewer. And then at the bottom, it says, and her friend Ivy Webster. And then you can see there's a little, My Little Pony, pink pony on there. And on his porch, he actually had another one that person had made for the 3 kids of Holly's as well. What else? Let's see. Oh, and then there was this other sign out there as well. And I mean, you look at the dates and it's just, it's heartbreaking, you know. These kids had really just barely started to live their lives and, you know, figuring things out, you know, maybe starting to think about future plans, you know, but these were just kids, you know, doing normal things, having a sleepover like they did all the time. It was a very common thing. All of these kids hanging out, spending the night together, you know, watching movies, going swimming, just normal kid things. And it ended so horribly. So when we got done at Britney's, I got a hold of Ivy's mom, Ashley, and she said that yes, they were there, we could come by and leave what we had. And she told me, you know, just ask for Justin, which is Ivy's dad. This is Ivy, beautiful girl. Just like I said, they said, you know, she was just happy all the time. Great kid. She played softball, and they said she would show up every day in the locker room, smile on her face, never complained about anything, and everybody was like, I want to be like Ivy. And that's kind of become the theme of everything now. They've got bracelets, and that's why I said hashtag be like Ivy on your social media. Use that hashtag, because we all should try to be like Ivy. Her family told us yesterday, be like Ivy. Be happy. Don't complain. Live a good life. After learning about Ivy, we, on the way home, were saying she's very similar to my daughter, a younger version of my daughter. She had just turned 14 on April 23rd, the day after Britney's birthday. But there's so many things about her and my daughter that were so similar that I was like, they would have been friends, you know. And my daughter Colleen was like, yeah, she would have been like somebody that I would have treated like a kid sister. And we went to the house. I pulled in the driveway and somebody was coming out, and I said, is Justin here? And they were like, yeah, come on in. And I was like, oh, you want us to come in the house? And they were like, yeah, just, you know, straight through there. And I saw Justin and told him who I was and why I was there. And they just so graciously invited us in. He had us come and sit on the couch with him. And Ashley was laying on the couch, resting. And we were just talking with Justin about Ivy, about the investigation, about the legislation, the laws. This man has so many great ideas. I really felt a connection with this family. They are a military family going back generations, just like mine. I got to meet Ivy's brother, who's also planning to go in the military. It was just so nice. Like I said, we had been really nervous all day, and we felt so comfortable there. The strength that these families have is incredible. They have their moments of breaking down, obviously, but I just don't know that I could have the strength that I saw in them. Ashley, she ended up getting up and talking with us as well. And Ivy was her only daughter and her best friend, just like my daughter is my only girl and my best friend. And it was really hard. It was really hard. But like I said, we talked about just a whole myriad of topics, and they're an amazing family. They did everything you should do to protect your children. McFadden was not on the Oklahoma SO registry. He was on the national registry. However, if you're living in Oklahoma and you're checking, who your kids are around, and you go to your state registry, which is where you would think, you could find that information, right? And you type it in, he's not there. Now, apparently this is some loophole that he slipped through when the laws were updated in Oklahoma. Somehow, I guess, they didn't update people that were offenders prior to that date. And not everybody's going to think, oh, look on the National Registry, right? They talked about Tiffany coming over so often that the weekend before they told her, we're going to give you your key because you're here so often. You practically live here. You might as well have a key. One of their sons had dated Rylee for a little while, was friends with Michael. He had been over to that house. The kids, back and forth all the time. I was very surprised how close Ivy lives to the McFadden property. When we were driving in initially to go out to the scene, we passed by Ivy's house, and I only knew it was Ivy's house because of the sign in the front yard. And you go maybe a quarter of a mile down the road and you're at McFadden's property. It was that close. So those two, they were always back and forth, at each other's houses. And there's a level of betrayal on Holly's part that she didn't tell them what kind of a man McFadden was. They would have been fine with Tiffany, Rylee, Michael coming to their house, but had they known, Ivy wouldn't have been going over, and Britney wouldn't have been going over there at all. Ivy had Life 360 on her phone, just like me and my kids. My grown-ass boys have on their phone, so I know they're okay. But it had been turned off. She was due home Sunday night at 5. McFadden called them at 5:11 with a broken up signal on the cell phone. The call was breaking up pretty bad, telling them that they were still in McAllister, but everything was fine. Well, they never went to McAllister, we found out after the fact. And Ivy's mom believes at that point it was already over. Ivy was already gone. And that's just awful to think that this man had done that to your child and then has the nerve to call you to make you think that, oh, we're running late, but everything's fine. It's sick. But the fact that Holly knew, her family knew, and nobody said anything is a level of betrayal that I don't know how parents in that position will ever be able to get over that. Because we talked, we saw in the interview the aunt and mom of Holly saying that if they said anything, the grandparents were punished and they couldn't see the kids and things like that. But you could have called the police. I mean, you can call anonymously. They were at the track meets, choir, school events, all of these things. They knew, the kids that all interacted. They could have said something to one of the parents, anything, but they didn't. They didn't. They covered. And it seems like they are continuing to try to cover, which I will get into a little bit more in a moment. This investigation, it was handled so badly from the beginning. Thankfully, OSBI has come in and taken over. Our governor basically told them to. You have to wonder why they weren't there from the jump. A case of this size in a town that small, the OSBI should have been included immediately. And the fact that this was a SO and the amount of electronics that were at the house and things like that, I don't know why they weren't there from the beginning. So part of me was like, is this too little too late? But maybe it's better late than never. Because the OSBI came in, like I said, they were very thorough, searching the entire property, doing some digging, searching the ponds. They had a truck there. They emptied out that god-awful stuff from that house. They took the electronics. The ICAC team is involved, which is part of the OSBI. That stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. And Justin explained to me that they are looking into the dark web to find any potential connections to Jesse McFadden, trying to find, is their daughter or Britney or any of the other kids, are there videos of them or pictures of them floating around out there? Are there other people involved that need to be arrested? So the family said OSBI has been great. And I feel better knowing that they are handling things now, that maybe things will get done. Because apparently when the Amber Alert went out, they went to the house, when they went in, when they got the search warrant and they went in, I guess they told the families, we went in with guns drawn, but we were looking for people, for bodies, what have you. And there were none, so we left and we didn't go back in. Now, my problem with that is in the video I showed you in my previous video, as soon as you walk in the door, you start seeing this stuff. You see the restraints, the chains, the locks, the toys, the electronics, boxes of videotapes, drugs everywhere. And knowing that he is a SO of children was why he was in prison, that he was due in court that day for child nasty images on a contraband cell phone while he was in prison. Why would you not think it's important to collect these electronics? That's his MO. That's what he does. Instead, Ivy and Brittany's family were told they could go in, and they walked into that, and they saw all of that, and they found evidence. Not just the first time they went. When they went back again, they found more evidence. The victim's family should not be collecting evidence and doing the job of law enforcement. They shouldn't. They should have never been subjected to seeing what they saw. They have been failed on so many levels. This man, if he had to serve out his full sentence, would not have been out. He would have been in jail last week. These people would still be alive. But instead, he was out because he had good behavior credits. Which, in my opinion, if you have good behavior, great. But if you have good behavior and then you mess up by having a contraband cell phone with CP on it, when you're in there for SA of a child, those good behavior credits should vanish. And if you're awaiting pending charges for that, why would you release somebody? Why? They shouldn't have. This man should not have been out. Plain and simple. And when you try to get an answer from the Department of Corrections, they don't have one. They'll tell you that he had to serve 85% of his sentence, which he did, and that he had good behavior credits for these programs that he did, and hygiene and things like that. And that's why he was released early. That's their policy, and that's their story, and they're sticking to it. Nobody can explain why those good behavior credits were not taken away when he was obviously not rehabilitated and doing the same damn thing while still in prison. Nobody can explain that. And then the whole thing with the registry. Apparently Henryetta didn't even know they had an SO living there. He wasn't on the state registry. I was told by Ivy's family, Holly took the kids to prison to meet Jesse. And that had to be stopped by the warden because he's not supposed to have contact with kids. So tell me she didn't know. Tell me she didn't know. He shouldn't have been out. He shouldn't have been living with those kids. Holly, if you're not going to put your kids first, which as a mom, as a dad, as a decent human, you should, why would you allow other people's children into your home to be exposed to this man? You know what kind of a person he is. It's bad enough that her kids were living there, but why would she allow other children to come into that environment? Especially, these kids are like, that's the age he seems to like. Oh, and Rylee, the oldest, the 17-year-old, had reported abuse. Why wasn't that looked into? And she had an incident with an older guy. There was some sexting involved, from what I understand. Well, when Holly and Jesse found out, they pulled her out of school, switched her to virtual, nailed her window shut, and made her start sleeping on their bedroom floor. A 17-year-old. They said Jesse acted like a jealous boyfriend when it came to Rylee. That's a problem. As a mother, how do you not see that and think this is a problem? This isn't right. I mean, they found a check that had been written by Holly to pay for a storage unit. I, upon hearing that, was horrified. I was thinking, oh no. As bad as that house was, what are they going to find in that storage unit? Thankfully, nothing. The OSBI said it was like, you know, pool stuff, swimming stuff, what have you. Apparently, they were behind on their payments and nobody had been in to the storage unit. It was locked up by the owner of the storage facility. But there was nothing bad there. Thank goodness. I don't know that we could handle much more. As for the 4-inch stack of Polaroids, again, I heard that. I saw Holly's aunt on Banfield Beige, and she seemed very distraught. She said that she had found this stack of Polaroids. It was about 4 inches high, and she couldn't describe what was in the pictures because it wasn't suitable for TV. But she was distraught. She was very upset about it. It was implied it was young kids in different stages of undress, etc. They said they found bloody clothes in the closet that had dried blood. They said they found toddler clothes with blood on it that was still wet to the touch. And when Justin, who was obviously concerned about this, contacted the lead investigator of the OSBI, and he showed me the text messages, y'all. I'm sitting on the couch with this man, and he's showing me his phone, and I saw them, okay? The OSBI said they were trying to track down anything like that, and there was nothing. There were no bloody clothes collected, and the photos were of the kids, but they were just like goofing around. Like, Ivy's parents said she had a Polaroid camera and they would goof around, you know, like kids taking selfies and things like that. But it wasn't nude pictures of young children or any children for that matter. It wasn't nude pictures. Nobody was undressed, nothing inappropriate in the Polaroids. The aunt apparently was flushing evidence down the toilet as well, which shouldn't be happening. Let me see. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, and the toddler clothes. Apparently, Holly and Jesse were pregnant with twins, and Holly miscarried. They had already been buying clothes and things in preparation for these twins. Ivy's parents said that even Tiffany had bought outfits, you know, for the kids. So if toddler clothes were found, maybe that's why. Now, Justin did say there was a bloody wipe in that house that, you know, Jesse or whoever had cleaned theirself up with. It was a bloody wipe. So if you heard that, yes, that's true. It was there. It was there. One of their questions was they have seen some surveillance footage from different locations, stores, things of that nature, and you can see Jesse, Ivy, Brittany, Tiffany. They have yet to see any that had Holly, Rylee, or Michael. And one of their big questions is, where were Rylee, Michael, and Holly? Had Jesse taken the other 3 girls out for the day and had already done away with Holly, Rylee, and Michael? We don't know. We'll never probably know. There is footage of him buying a tripod for filming. That's disturbing. One of the things that is important to Ivy's family that her dad is pushing for, that I think is fantastic. I had never heard of it, and I don't know why every single school in the country isn't using this system. It's called the Raptor system. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to raptortech.com. It's a system, it's for security at schools. And it has, part of it is when visitors come, you have to scan your ID. And it will tell you if a person is a SO. It will tell you if they are allowed to have contact with the children, like if they're a parent, but they're not allowed, if there's like a protective order, they can't have contact with the kids, what have you. If they are like a restricted visitor, they're not allowed at the school, whatever. It will alert them to that before they ever enter the school. They have to do this outside. They're not even in the school. I think it's fantastic. I asked them if it was being used anywhere currently in Oklahoma, and he said the Union School District was using it. So there's no excuse. Oklahoma can't come back and say, like, you know, we can't afford it. Well, I mean, they can, and they probably will. But it is in effect in that school district, and maybe more. I would like to see that implemented everywhere. You know, her dad brought up the fact about laws saying you have to have a certain number of AEDs in the school, you know, in case somebody has like cardiac arrest, what have you, so you can revive them. And that is important. But my thing was the chances of somebody going into cardiac arrest versus a SO or somebody trying to get into the school, the risk. You can't just look at somebody and be like, oh yeah, they're an SO. This would prevent that. This would prevent them from getting in the school, from attending school events, which Jesse did. He attended all the events at the school and was around all of those children, and he never should have been allowed. The Raptor system could put a stop to that. So that's something very important. Look into it. It's fantastic. They also have a petition on change.org, and I will link all of this in the description box, but it is for the Knights Law. Now, it's called that because the mascot for Henryetta is the Knights, and so it's the Knights Law. And it is about opposing Oklahoma SO sentencing and probation requirements, that they would have to serve 100% of their time, that child SOs would be in prison for life. You can read all about the petition and sign it at change.org, and like I said, I will link that. We are very close to the end of the legislative session. I think there's 2 or 3 weeks left. So passing new laws, it's just not going to happen, right? But you can piggyback something new onto something that's currently being considered, and that's what's happening. So the representative they spoke of, Fed Getter, and the representative from my county, which, if you remember, he did the funeral for little Athena Brownfield. He's helping with the wording of the bill to get it in to possibly pass in these next few weeks. Likely probably won't happen, but we're not going to give up. We're not going to quit pushing. We're going to keep putting it out there, gaining more momentum, more support, so when the next session happens, we can really push to get this enacted. So I told that family I will do anything and everything I can. I will go to the Capitol with them. I will go around with petitions. I will put it on my platform. I will do anything I can to help them get these things passed. Anything. I mean, I told them I would do anything for them, big or small, but this is big, and this is something that I am very much 100% behind. I said to her dad, I'm like, I sometimes get over involved in my cases, and I feel very over involved in this one. And he said, you can't be too over involved in this one. And he's right. This is completely different. I'm not working with Ellie or PIs to talk to suspects to try to get them to give me information, or talking to people that might have information to help an investigation. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm working for change in the name of these beautiful, beautiful, innocent children. So they have bracelets that have the hashtag Be Like Ivy. I'm making sweatshirts for the family that say that. I will also have one that I can wear. There's a lot going on. This video is kind of getting long, so I don't want to, harp on it too much, but I'm going to do a video that is dedicated to all the changes that we are trying to make happen, not just here in Oklahoma, but nationwide. This problem is bigger than just Oklahoma, and what has happened at this house is bigger than everybody thinks. I want to show you real quick. This is Ivy's beautiful memorial garden. You can see it's a heart shape. There are, it looks like twinkle lights or fairy lights around the trees. There's candles around the whole thing. Lots of beautiful flowers, and the most peaceful sounding wind chimes in a tree on either side, and a swing for the family to sit in. And her dad said, I want you to take this rose bush out there, and you find a place that you want me to plant it, and I will plant it for you today. And he's like, but I want you to tell Ivy that you're here and you're fighting with us for her. And we did. And me and Colleen broke down. It was the first time yesterday that we lost it. I'm not a crier, and it got me being out there. It's such a peaceful, beautiful spot back behind their house on their property. And Colleen said my eyes are sweating, and I was like, yeah, it's hot, so yeah, our eyes are sweating. But this means so much to me. It really touches my heart, and I love these people, and I need your help to make these things happen. Justin's a big Bills fan, and my husband used to work with AJ Espinesa's dad, Epi, and we are reaching out to AJ to tell him Ivy's story and try to get him to put it on his platforms because he's got a bigger reach. We talked about being frustrated. When I was talking about Troy Aikman, Justin had not heard that he was helping out, but we have Blake Shelton, Carrie Underwood, Reba McEntire, all these people from this area, and nobody is speaking about this. Reba is from McAllister. McAllister is where they were supposed to go that day. McFadden's family has property there. My daughter went to school with Reba McEntire's niece. So it's close to home for them as well. Blake Shelton just played at the Highway to Henryetta concert over the summer, and Ivy's parents said she attended that concert. If they could tell Ivy's story, if they could get on board with what we're trying to do, it would be huge because they have a broader reach. And like I said, our hope is, yes, definitely get this done in Oklahoma, but for all of you to get it done in your states as well. To start a petition in your state for tougher laws against these people. We don't want a tragedy like this to happen again. And we need to do everything in our power to keep our kids safe. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep everybody's kids safe. No parent should ever have to bear what these parents are bearing. This is unimaginable. I think about how I felt when I lost my parents. I can't imagine losing a child. Justin and I are a lot alike in that I don't deal with being sad very well, but I can deal with being angry. And he is rightfully angry. And we are going to channel that anger into pushing for these changes to make something happen in Ivy's name. And he wants you guys to tell Ivy's story. Use Ivy's story as an example for others. And let's make changes. What happened to those 5 kids? It needs to mean something. It needs to matter. It needs to inspire change. It can't be in vain. It won't be. We won't let it be. We're not going to drop this. I'm not going to drop this. You guys are going to be hearing about this case a lot from me. A lot. If you have any questions for me, if you've heard something and you want to know, is it true? Send them to me and I will ask the parents. Don't spread anything unless you know. And if you have questions, please send them to me. You guys know I answer you in the comments. I email you back. If you send me a DM, I get back to you. If you want to know something, get a hold of me. I will answer you, and if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer for you. I promise you that. I promise you that. Now, one person that you should be following on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, is Cameron Spradling. He is Ivy's family's attorney, and he is updating very regularly about the investigation, about what we are trying to accomplish. And this 32 different cell phones and individuals utilized the House of Horrors in Henryetta as their location address. Information obtained by my law firm's PI and now in the possession of the OSBI. 32. You guys, I'm telling you, what we know, what happened, I can't confirm it, so yes, we're going to do a little speculation here, but everything in me says this is part of a bigger ring. A child P ring. People were using that property, or perhaps another property associated with him, to do bad things to kids. These things were being filmed, and I know they were put out there. Nobody has DVDs and videotapes these days. Not really. Why did he have a DVD player and a VCR and all those videotapes, all those phones, all those computers, all those laptops? Why? Why do you think he did? What was he doing from prison? Think about it. 32 cell phones and individuals using that house as their address? There's 32 people out there that need to be accounted for. 32 people that need to be investigated. They found a ledger with names and birth dates on it of possible prior victims, written in Holly's handwriting, y'all. No, this isn't over. This is just beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg. And just to give you a taste of what these families were dealing with before the OSBI stepped in, this is what an investigator said to Justin, Ivy's dad. How you could talk to a parent like this, I do not know. But he said, the problem is we don't know what else to do. The only person who can tell us what happened, and Justin interjected with, is dead. But we can try to piece it together. And the investigator said, we are open to any suggestions you all can give. Why should the parents of victims have to tell the police how to do their job? Why should they have to offer suggestions? Do your damn job. And it sounds like there may be no accountability for this botched investigation because I guess law enforcement has immunity against things like that. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to be fired. The investigator also said, what would this accomplish? Really? It might help you locate other victims. It might help you stop this from happening by being able to arrest possible other predators that were connected with this monster. Local law enforcement had no idea of the value of what was left behind, said Spradling. That's the attorney. Spradling said McFadden's computers and the phones could have been key to finding out what happened, as well as finding more predators, more potential victims, and maybe even pictures of the victims before they were unalived. Spradling said Saturday the OSBI was called in and the case was handed over to them. Agents also brought a U-Haul to the scene. If they brought a U-Haul, they probably carried everything out of that house, all of it. What happened here is a national embarrassment, and it is. It is. Y'all know I love my state, but damn. Sorry if you hear my dogs. I can't with this anymore, you guys. I can't. I'm starting to get upset again. I have so much more to tell you, but I'm going to end this video because it's been an hour and a half, and I know you don't want to watch hours and hours of me enraged. But please, pray for these families. I'm so sorry about my dogs. And let's all try to be like Ivy. Everybody smile today. Everybody try not to complain about anything today. Everybody go out there and you live your best life. And you do it for Ivy and Britney and Tiffany and Rylee and Michael. Let's all be like Ivy. And let's make a positive impact in this world. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, because I will continue to update on this case as well as all the other cases that we're covering here on my channel. I love you all. You are such an amazing community, and I'm proud to have each and every one of you here with me and with me for these families. So, as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.